let's breathe into the intro. All right, deep breath in, deep breath out. One more deep breath in and out. Okay. Welcome to the Yellow Couch Podcast once again. This is DeAndrea.
And I'm Bria.
And come and sit with us, loved ones. Today we're talking about arts versus entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a conversation that has been ongoing for a while. Honestly, let's get into it because first of all, me and you both are artists in our own right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a dancer. You are
And
a fashion
a
designer.
fashion designer, stylist,
Mm-hmm.
and I like doing everything creative. So yeah, I don't really even put a limit on that.
Yeah, I try not to put a limit on my creativity too, but dancing is the thing that I get paid to do. So I'm gonna start there.
Cool.
The rest of it is for fun. But um we have been talking about this idea of art versus entertainment for a while, and really ever since um the Kendrick and Drake beef, we've been having, like, as a society, we've been having a few more pointed conversations, like very specific conversations about art and
Mm-hmm.
entertainment. And I don't know if everybody was aware that they were having the conversation about art versus entertainment, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw this guy by the name of Daniel Wright. He's on like TikTok and YouTube. And he does like short video essays. And he did one about Drake versus Kendrick. Um, and then he also did one about the Super Bowl
Mm.
that just passed. And that's what that was the video, or those were the videos that inspired me originally when we started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he put together like all of these different sources of information, starting from like DMX talking about the industry on like Def Poetry Jam, or whatever it was called, like so many years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
tying all of that together to the present day. And I was like, oh, we need to definitely get into this a little bit more, because it was just perfect the way that he was talking about it. Um, so yeah, then it was the Kendrick and Drake beef. Then Kendrick dropped GNX,
Yeah, which
and
was an
then the
amazing
Super
album.
Bowl
Yeah.
happened, and then you get even to more recently. Then Sinners comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. It gets really deep because when you talk about art versus entertainment, like before I'm looking at definitions and all that, like the first thing that comes to mind for me is like when we're thinking about the difference between what makes these things so different. Like
Mm,
just off the top, like I'm thinking that art has more to do with the artist, what their intention for the message is, and then also um how the audience will interpret that message, right? And then
mm,
entertainment, when I think about entertainment, I think about really somebody or a production company or whatever. These people are trying to do something for the people. So for me, like when I think about art versus entertainment, I feel like they can kind of collide and they can kind of overlap and stuff. But then I also think about um something closer to me and how I don't really love the idea of people pleasing, and entertainment can kind of go that way many times. As an artist and a fashion designer, I struggle with this idea of pleasing the people specifically.
Mhm.
because when you're in an industry where you're an artist, I feel like I'm an artist first, and then I'm also having to sell myself and my art. Like there's a push and pull that happens with selling your art versus, actually doing the art so that it can please somebody. Like
Mm.
it's
Mhm.
like a push, it's like a tug of war, and something that I've been struggling with a lot. So when you brought up Kendrick, Bria knows that I really love Kendrick. Bria knows that I really
Me
love
too.
Kendrick, and how deep he is, how deep his music is, how spiritual, just how well rounded he is as an artist. And when it came to the Drake and Kendrick beef, I felt like it was just such an important conversation that we still are having and need to have, when it comes to the art versus entertainment thing, because I don't think that Drake is not an artist. I don't
Mm.
think that Drake is, I don't really, I haven't been the biggest Drake fan, but I like and I have liked some of his music. And
Mhm.
when I think about it, there's things that he has done. There's music that he has done that I've been like, yeah, I definitely vibe to that. That definitely takes me back to a space like where I really felt what he was talking about. I really liked the way that he portrayed this with his artistry, with him being an entertainer, but also like with him um making it making us feel connected to what he was saying. So there's part of it that just kind of collides when you have the Kendrick and Drake beef, where it's like, okay, so what's the difference between these two people right now? Like, why is there a beef? Why is there a problem? You know, and for me as a consumer, the beef, the way that my perspective took in the beef was, there's somebody on one side that's like, hey, listen, I do this. This is what I do in order for me to process, in order for me to be sincere, in order for me to, like, I live this, I breathe this, I am this. And the other
Mm.
person is over there not saying that they do the opposite, but they're also in the, like, I make the hits, I make the numbers, I connect to the people, I have been the biggest, I'm this, I'm that. And so you're having these people are colliding and they're having two different conversations. And
Mm.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm making of the broader conversation that comes out of it, of art versus entertainment.
No, but you said it. They're having two different conversations. And I think that's the problem. That's the breakdown in what their communication with each other, and maybe even with the fans of both Kendrick and Drake, is that the people who were like down for Drake the whole time, and like even when he was clearly losing, they were still down with him. They were having a different conversation than Kendrick was having, and they were missing what Kendrick was trying to say. And I think Drake was missing what Kendrick was trying to say too, because he was so busy being getting his feelings hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think and maybe he wasn't missing it. I don't know. I don't know if he was missing it or not, but they were definitely having two totally different conversations. And a conversation that Kendrick was having, he continued to have and continued to drive home his point, when he got on that Super Bowl stage, that it wasn't really all about Drake. It was about the industry. It was about something much, much, much bigger than just two people going back and forth with each other about their own personal issues. And so I think that's for me that was inspiring, because as a creative, as a person who puts together pieces of art and likes to I like to choreograph. I like to put shows together. I like to do those types of things. It was inspiring to see somebody stand in the truth of who they are. He's a
Yeah.
rapper,
Yeah.
and do that, and not just do that, but he did it the way that he wanted to do it, and not the way that the people wanted him to do it, which is what we oftentimes as artists deal with, because we have the artist's intention, and then
Mhm.
you have the consumers desire, which is to be entertained most of the time,
Yeah.
right?
And
And so especially with
yeah.
the Super
Mhm.
Bowl, they wanted people wanted to be entertained.
Mhm.
And they were entertained, but some people less than others, because the first criticisms we saw as soon as the Super Bowl, like as soon as that Super Bowl halftime show aired, the first criticism was that wasn't all that.
Mm.
It was meh. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And we live in a very, very a world where everything has to feel so like euphoric, um chasing dopamine highs. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? That people missed what was going on. And I'm talking from the young to the old. I remember seeing older lady that's a part of my community that was on Facebook talking about how she didn't really like the performance, but then after all the think pieces came out afterwards, she was like, "Oh, I missed that. I didn't realize. I'm sorry. I take back what I said." And so therein lies the difference between art versus entertainment. So if it's okay, I want to go ahead and educate real quick about the definitions. These are quick Google searches. This is not anything crazy, but according to the Oxford Dictionary, art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power.
Mm.
And then you have entertainment. And entertainment is the action of providing or being provided with amusement or joy. And
Mm.
so, even in the definitions themselves, you can clearly understand the difference. Whereas art is like the big umbrella,
Mhm.
and then entertainment falls underneath that. Because
Mm.
not all art is entertainment, but entertainment is a form of art.
Yeah.
And so, when we think about the ways that we create art, we think about the ways that we consume art, and we think about the ways that we consume entertainment. And sometimes things are both, and sometimes things are one or the other.
Yeah. And what this conversation is making me think about the Met Gala as well that just passed. And one thing that I'm reflecting on at this time is you said something about missing a point, right? And like somebody missing something because it's like it's like you're looking for that to automatically hit you. When it's art is something that you take time to consume or to sit with and to, you know, understand. And
Mm,
when it comes to entertainment, in my opinion, I feel like entertainment is like almost an important thing for entertainment to get to the point
mm,
to make it plain so that people can get the punchline or they can understand what's being said or they I feel like entertainment is like a faster microwavable instant art, you know.
mm-hmm.
And so anyway, back to the Met Gala. It made me think about the Met Gala. So a lot of people in the fashion community
Yeah.
were talking about how they didn't like Pharrell's Louis Vuitton looks for the red carpet this year. And I was amongst those people not saying much, right? But
Mm,
I did like the outfits. I like the silhouettes. But on the entertainment side of things, they weren't big and loud and, you know, showy. And there were some styling choices that were made that I didn't always necessarily agree with when it came to that camp. But I respected it because I was like, you know, I'm for me, I was like, I'm gonna reserve my comments about this until I kind of sit with it for a while.
mm,
So just recently again, I looked over my the screenshots that I took and I looked back over the pics that I had for Met Gala, my top picks. And I had screenshot a picture of Pharrell in his jacket.
mm-hmm.
So when you're like distracted and you're just seeing stuff, you'll see something and you'll be like, it's cool. Pharrell had a jacket on that just seemed like a tailored pinstriped jacket, and I was like, it looks cool. But it's not like over the top. It's not like, what is so super fine tailored about this? That was the subject. And then I looked closer and I saw that the jacket was made completely of pearls.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it?
I
It's
love a pearl.
July. It's
I love a
July.
pearl.
I think
Yes,
I
July.
I think I didn't realize. I'm sure they said it at some point, but I missed it. I didn't realize the jacket was made of pearls, and then I didn't see it up close until like maybe a week or two ago. And
Mm.
I'm like, "What? That's fire!"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
I was
like,
just. Mm-hmm.
having a tailored jacket at that. His jacket was. Y'all gonna have to go and look at it. Having a jacket that is tailored, that is completely made of pearls, but it doesn't look like heavy. It looks like it's light on him. I'm like, I missed it. It was subtle to the eye when you're looking on, at photo of it from they're taking a far away photo from him. You can't really tell, or I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, completely made of pearls? That's fire. And as
Mm-hmm.
an artist in the fashion arena, I'm like, bro, people were saying so much about this man's artistry for this, like about how they didn't like him, da 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 da. But like, and everybody had these opinions about it. I don't know how much they knew, how much they took in, whatever. I don't know. That's not really my, you know. But I liked how I was able to appreciate it more well after the fact because of the craftsmanship of it, because of the artistry of it, because what it meant for the messaging, for the theme of the Met Gala this year.
Right.
And we had other showstoppers, but honestly, they were showstoppers more so because of how big and bright and loud they were. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, like there's so many things that I feel like we miss nowadays because they're not the biggest and the loudest and the brightest and the catchiest and the whatever. Like they're not the ist. They're not competing. They are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just
No,
my 2 cents. Yeah.
but that's good though because um I think that gets into the idea of whether the art is good or not, right?
Mhm.
And that's the conversation that people think they're having when they're talking about um different types of things. Well, I didn't really like this. I didn't like this, people throw out their opinions. I didn't like this outfit. I didn't like Pharrell's outfit, or I didn't think it was, a whole he didn't do enough or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like having an opinion about the art and putting a judgment on it, like you're putting a
Yeah.
value judgment on it, like whether it was good or bad, whether it was effective or ineffective. These are things that artists struggle with because the artist knows their intentions, but the art has to speak for itself. And
Yeah.
so the artist could stand there and they go down the red carpet, they get interviewed, and sometimes they get interviewed and they are able to share the details and say this is what this was about, this is why I did
Mhm.
this. But a lot of times people don't hear those interviews and they don't get to see that, they only seeing the photo like you said. And so the art has to speak for itself. And when it speaks, are you listening? When it speaks, are you paying attention to what it is they're trying to say? Or did you just glance over it real quick and decide in that instant second that you saw, the first second that you saw it, whether it was good or bad, right? And so we have to learn how to be more um pay more attention and to slow down when we
Yeah.
are viewing art, because art is intentional. The artist's art is intentional. If we
Mhm.
go back to that definition said that it's the expression of human creative skill and imagination. And so we know that as artists, we know that we have intentions behind what we're doing. And so as consumers, when we flip it, we have to pay more attention and try to ask the question, hey, what was this artist trying to say or trying to express? What
Instead
what
of
type of
just instead of just kind of looking at it as good, like flat, like good bad,
right,
because it's so much more complex than good bad.
right, exactly. Exactly. And so honestly, I feel like that really just drives the nail home, right? Like
Mhm.
we're talking about, so you use an example from the Met Gala, which was a beautiful example because yes, I am not a part of the fashion world, but I enjoyed watching the Met Gala and seeing all the different looks that came on the carpet. And I had my own expectations of what I
Mhm.
wanted to see. For example, Andre 3000.
Mhm.
We have watched Andre 3000 for his entire career be a black dandy.
Yeah.
And then we had an expectation of how he should show up to the Met
Yeah.
Gala because of what we've seen him do in
Yeah.
all these years past. And he came completely different than what the people expected, what I expected.
Mhm.
And I was at first disappointed
Mhm.
because I was like, dang, I wanted him to bring back one of his old looks and remix it or, contemporize it or whatever you want to call it. But he
Mhm.
did something completely different that was he was saying something. And
Yes.
as soon as I saw him with that piano on his back, I was like, okay, he's trying to say
Mm.
something. So let me listen and pay attention to what he's trying to say.
I loved his look so much because the theme wasn't just dandyism, the theme was black dandyism, and how
Mm-hmm.
black dandies used style to rebel in the most subtle ways. You would do a bright color instead of a drab color. You would do a little bit more accessories like stacking and color mixing and color blocking. You would do something that was inherently rebellious. And when we think about how when I think about how artful he was in that moment, like I got it right away because in that time I got it right away for him because he um like to me it was just so big. It was I love the intersection of art and entertainment.
Yeah.
I love when somebody gets it, like they balance it really well. It doesn't mean that when people don't do it that something is bad or not good. But I like how he came in big, huge piano on the back of his back in a jumpsuit, and he had a trash bag in his hand. What? It
Mm-hmm.
immediately makes you scratch your head. It immediately makes you ask a question. It immediately makes you like, what is he thinking? What is he doing? And to me, that is such a good way to express and communicate that I'm coming in here and I'm doing something different. You probably won't know right away what I'm doing, but you know that I'm doing something intentionally different. It was on purpose and it felt on purpose. As soon as he walked the carpet, it felt like, okay, he's trying to say something to us right now.
Yes.
So I loved that for him.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
mhm,
I'm sorry. I love that as a creator because um to kind of like bring it into my world and in the dance world, every time I make a show, I pick a theme for the show.
mhm,
Even though my boss might say, you can do whatever you want. We just want to see the kids, dance, right?
mhm,
I'm like, no, I need this to tell a story or I need this to be cohesive in some kind of way. It needs to have more intention than just picking some songs and letting them get on stage and dance. And so
yeah,
I've done a show where we talked about colors and how the colors make us feel and what type of
mhm,
music resonates with that specific color and then we chose a song based on that color and we danced to that song. And and the show was called Colors of the Season, right?
I love
And
that.
it was like, and that's how I you know put things together, because I think it's more important, it's most important to have intention, right? And the parents, they appreciate that, because they're like, I enjoy watching the whole entire show, as opposed to, I just wanted to see my baby get on stage, right?
Yes. Because it leaves them, they are able to leave with something besides just the entertainment of it. Oh, this made me feel
Mhm.
this way for this moment.
Mhm.
But like when something keeps impacting you afterwards, that's it's beautiful. That's why we're
Mhm.
here. I feel like that's why we are doing this podcast together as well. Like
Mhm.
this is a form of entertainment, but we doing it in an intentional way. And
Yeah.
and ultimately, like when you're talking about your passion for creating intentional conceptual work,
Mhm.
bodies of work, is exactly the way that I feel about my chosen medium, fashion.
Mhm.
Like when I'm making, I'm a collection girl. I really don't, even when I do one offs, like it has a story. So
Mhm.
like, I have to create a story in order for me to feel like it is on purpose
Mhm.
and that it has a purpose. And so when you're talking about the colors, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why me and my sister are, it just reminds me of why we're so connected, because colors are very intentional. God put colors on this earth for very intentional reasons. There's a reason why we see a blue sky or a pink sky sometimes, and
Mhm.
or we see green grass or yellow grass sometimes. And
Mhm.
while there's different seasons, because we're all it's all of it is like a metaphor. We're all going through these seasons together. We're all changing
Mhm.
colors together. We're all doing
Mhm.
these things are happening together. And they say art is an imitation of life, and
Mhm.
life is an imitation of art. I feel like art is synonymous with life in a way,
Mhm.
because when you're allowing to yourself to flow creatively, like you're just living through your art pieces, and you're
Right.
being intentional, like you're creating this intentional story, and it's a story that you're moving through in that
Yeah.
flow. So
Mhm.
like as a fashion designer, the hardest thing that I've had a struggle with is creating art for consumption, creating my fashion for consumption, for mass consumption, because I do get clients and customers and da 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 da. But ultimately, when the people are purchasing from me, they're usually buying into the art that I
Right.
have. They're usually not. It's usually not a thing where it's like, well, I need these pants for work, or I need this slacks for this. Like I'm not really in the function over fashion claw. I'm not in that brain. I'm in a different brain where it's like, oh, this is giving me different function. This is giving
Mhm.
me something else, not just function. It's giving me something to remember. It's giving me something to remind me of what I like to be, an aspiration. So when I have on my piece today, when I put on something from me, like it reminds me why I made this print design
Yeah.
and what I felt during that time. And I try to convey that over to my clients, whoever comes and buys in. This is the intention of this. Now you can take the
Right.
intention farther, you know, or you can take it where you want it to go. But this was my intention for this. And I hope that when I let go of it, it becomes something for you that's, you know, empowering or inspiring for you as well.
Mhm. And that's something that's important. Like, as artists, one thing we have to remember is that once we create the art, we got to let it go and let it speak for itself, because the you're not going to always have the ability to explain your intentions.
Yeah.
You're not going to always have the ability to once you put it out there, there's a detaching that has to happen. And Erica Badu said it best: I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my And so there's gonna be that, we don't want to hear your critique all the time. Sometimes it's helpful when we're trying to improve or when we're trying to get consumers, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes we don't want to hear it. And so we have to, as artists, remember that, once you create it and once you're done, take your hands off of it and let the art be the art, and be okay with however it chooses to live in the world,
Yeah.
like however it chooses to live. Because that relationship that we have with it, once we release it, we have to, really release it and let it go. And know that, just if we can make it once, we can make it again. If we can, what I'm saying, if this one doesn't resonate with a bunch of people, it's okay, because it resonated with us. And
Yeah.
that's originally who it's for, is for the
That's
artist.
that is the part that is the hardest thing for me, because while logically I understand that I must release it, it is always a part of me, and
Mm,
it's always going to be a part of me. So it's like, yeah, I can release it. It's fine. But if I see somebody out in the world with one of these pieces on and they got it all, janky looking, dirty, whatever, I'm a I'm gonna feel some type of way.
yeah.
Just like I'm raising a baby girl, and like she's gonna learn things from me and her dad, but then she's gonna go, when we release her to the world, she's gonna go and do her own thing. She's gonna do some stuff that I'm gonna be like, sis, like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna because it's I still feel part of that. I still feel part of that expression, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not me anymore. It's not under my control. It's no longer what is it called? It's no longer, it's created its own bigger idea and identity outside of me.
Right.
That's the hard part. It's just, it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
Um
You're right about that. Cause that's isn't that so cool though? Like, as parents, like, that is our artistic expression. Our children are the artistic expression of our love for our partners,
yeah.
manifested in the form of another human being.
Yeah.
That's
Or
so
not,
beautiful.
or our lack thereof.
You're right, or your lack thereof. That's crazy.
It's like
Wow.
for yourself or for the person or whatever, but like it's, yeah, life is art. And
Yep.
life is art, like creation is art. So when you think about creation, we create things, like we birth things, we birth new things. It's a big deal. Like in this season of transition for me, like as I my focus started to from just Love Dejanay, and it's been so hard for me to, I feel like it's hard for me to release any part of it, because
Mm-hmm.
my eyes have been on it so long. This is my baby. My baby is almost 8 years old, right? This is my baby. This has been my baby for so long. But she got legs, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a whole other thing, and now I can focus on my baby, my human flesh baby here now, and I can focus on my other endeavors, and it's okay. She's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes to remove myself from it, but without getting emotional. It's hard sometimes for to release without becoming like a little like shaken up a bit.
And
um
that's, what, and that's where I recommend meditation
mhm.
as a practice. Because one of the things that I learned, first of all, I was introduced to mindfulness as a practice that was done intentionally my first year teaching. The first year that I went into the classroom was the most hectic year of my life. So many things were happening, and I wanted to just prove myself to be, deserving of the job title that I had just acquired.
Mhm.
And it was too much. I was literally doing everything. I had done 2 shows in one semester. I had done I was doing everything. I was doing a lot. And we had a what is it called? We had a offering basically come through my email about a mindfulness class, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check it out because I'm stressed. And in that mindfulness class, I learned that when you're meditating, how to allow for your thoughts to come, but then allow them to pass like a river, right?
Mm.
Like you have a thought that comes to your mind, and then once you notice that the thought has came to your mind while you're meditating, you just gently let it keep on going down the river. Basically, when you think about this thing that has this thought that has come to your mind while you're meditating, you're not saying, "Oh man, I messed up. I'm only supposed to be thinking about my breathing right now." Like you're not judging yourself because you had a thought. You're just
Mhm.
noticing I have a thought. Okay, I noticed I'm thinking about my thinking. Now I'm going to release it and let it go. And I think that one of those types of, when it comes to that type of practice, it was helpful for me to learn how to meditate in that way so that I could stop having such harsh or critical value judgments placed on myself, because that critic inside of our head is really, really, really strong. And sometimes having that critic in your head, um it'll cause you to be like, okay, so did I do that right? No, that didn't look right. Or you know what I'm saying? And as an artist, you need the ability to be able to detach. So how do you practice detaching? If you don't practice it in any other form of your life, maybe try in meditation to practice that detach, that let it just float down the river. Okay, the thought came. All right, let it go. All
Yeah,
right, yeah.
I'm very emotionally attached to my art, and I love that about it. I don't like to be emotionally unattached from my art. So like, I cannot detach until I am finished with what I'm with my project. And when that's why for me it's been hard. We've talked about this before personally. It's hard for me to receive criticism while I'm still in the process of finishing. Like I haven't put it out. I haven't presented it to the world yet. It's hard for me to sometimes it's hard for me to receive criticism in that time because I'm like, bro, it's not even finished yet. Like this is not even the end yet. And I'm still emotionally with it right now. Like I'm still emotionally within that space right now because my expression of art is literally the way that I'm able to process my emotions. Meditation for me, because I'm a yoga person, so the things that you were saying about being able to let them flow, let the thoughts flow through like the river, like I didn't hear it like that, but when I have been attending yoga sessions, like the person who's leading will say like, come back to center. Your thoughts will likely drift, and that's all right, but just come back to center. And one thing that I have that I'm learning to love about myself is just how emotional I am, because my emotions are like super colorful and
Mm-hmm.
they give me so much inspiration. And without them, I'm not really able to pull. So when I'm like, when I do detach from my, like when I'm thinking on the business side, or I need to do this, I need to present this, I need to have this, like it has to be afterwards. It can't be during, it can be before sometimes, but it can't be during that art process because I need to be in my feelings and
Yeah.
I need to
I
be in
think,
them.
but I see that takes me back in, honestly, that takes me into the conversation that we had last time about boundaries, right? Because, like, when it comes to like the creative process, you need, you shouldn't be, you shouldn't have people criticizing your work while you're still in the midst of creating. That disrupts the flow. Like when you're in the middle of creating a piece, whether it's clothing that you're making or anything else that you're creating, you should not have people that are there to critique you in that in the middle of that process unless you're asking for help. Like there is a part there's a reason why when we okay, so we both went to Kathy's. We grew up dancing at
Yeah.
Miss Kathy's dance studio, and you remember
Yeah.
that dance studio had this one little tiny window.
Yeah.
There was no place for you to sit in the actual dance studio. You
Mhm.
could not sit in the dance studio and watch. You could watch through the little window, and that was it. That is so important because
Mhm.
in the process of you creating, Miss Kathy was creating in there, and we were learning the creation, and we were also creating on ourselves. Having other people in the room while we're doing that, giving their real time feedback in the form of the way that they're expressing themselves
Yeah.
was not helpful to the process. And
Mhm.
so you there's something to be said about having boundaries when you're in the process of creating. Like you said, you're attached to that thing until you're finished. It's that's how it should be. Like your emotions are valid if somebody's coming in the middle of your process. I don't allow people to critique my work before I'm ready. I don't allow them to. And the reason why I don't allow them to is because I don't even show it to them. They don't even have the option. You know what I'm saying? And so that's one of those things where it's like, no, I don't, even as a teacher, I don't like having students sitting in the back of my classroom because you're
Mhm.
disrupting the flow. You're disrupting the creative flow of what's happening here. You're
Yeah.
either in the room participating in the process or you're not in the room.
Yeah. Our school me um made me think about what is the what is constructive criticism a lot. Um because we talked about it like we had to give critique in our
Mm-hmm.
classes. At the end of classes, you had to give critique and you couldn't say good bad. That gave you a failing grade. You couldn't say I just don't like it. That would give you you didn't participation.
Thank you.
Um you didn't participate basically. But
Mm-hmm.
like when you were critiquing, there was time. So we would have different phases where we would work on something for a period of time, and then you would critique with the fashion department. We would get critiques in the middle of our process, which is
Mm-hmm.
just hard because you had critiques with your professors, but you and not the students, but you had critiques with your professors or in the dean, and they were not seeing the end result. They were in the middle. The critique would be in the middle before you finish, and it was designed that way. And so we were taught that it's important for people to, and I do agree with this to an extent. We were taught that it's important for you to have a team to look over the
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm-hmm.
And but what's different than art school is you get to choose your team. In the real world, you get to choose your team. You
Thank
get
you.
to choose people who understand your vision, who understand your why, your reason, your mission, your values. And so that doesn't mean they're going to agree with everything that you do and they're going to agree with how you're doing it. But for the most part, they're not going to be in there saying things like, I don't like
Good,
this
bad.
because, yeah, I don't like this because it's not for women. That was a critique that was given to me. And it was just so left field. Like it's so weird for somebody to say that to a woman, and they're not a woman. But those things would be like the reason why, like for fashion is like one of those things where it's like art and design intercepted. So you have the function and then you have the creativity or the messaging of whatever you're wearing, because we wear so many things. We wear our emotions, we wear our pain, we wear blah blah blah, but we also wear clothes.
Right. Thank
and
you.
and the clothes can tell a story themselves. And so, some people would rather the function over the creativity because they want to be able to feel uniform. Some people don't want that. And
Yeah.
so like as an artist for me, I had to I've been having to find keep coming back to the center to bring this full
Mm-hmm.
circle. I had to keep coming back to center. Okay, that was just off. That
Mm-hmm.
was just not that just wasn't for me. This person wasn't for me. That's okay. Let me come back to center. I have to keep
Mm-hmm.
coming back to center because I know my mission and my value, my purpose, and I know why I'm doing this, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
stay the course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I definitely feel like we could go on and on and on and on about this specific topic, and maybe we'll have another episode where we get more into it. But I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
Hmm.
So before we leave, I want us to share. Um, I want us to both share some things that let's put the people on. Let's put our loved ones on to some things. I want to put y'all on to Saba.
Mm.
He has an album out called The Private Collection of Saba and No ID. And in my opinion, it is the best rap hip hop album that has come out in 2025.
Mm.
And this is first half. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's July now, so we just stepped into the second half of the year. But
No, I
so
haven't heard
far,
it.
you haven't heard it.
I
So
haven't
far,
heard it.
in my opinion, it is the best album, rap hip hop album of 2025. So I
Mm.
definitely suggest it, and especially when we're talking about art versus entertainment.
Mm.
Especially the first song on that album is called "Every Painting Has a Price."
Mm.
So yes, and then a book I read this year that I highly recommend is Beloved by Toni Morrison. It's definitely historical fiction. It's gonna be heavy. So if you're not into heavier works, probably this one's probably not for you. But if you're definitely into that, and if you watch Sinners, it's given
Mm.
the same type of vibe. It's the same like similar time period. So yes, I would highly recommend Beloved by Toni Morrison. And I got more, but I'm gonna stop right there. D, do you have any?
Yeah, so I didn't prepare myself for this.
That's okay.
Um so but when you talk about Beloved, I've been reading it and I've been reading it over.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say yes, please do check out Beloved
Mm-hmm.
again if that's your speed. Toni Morrison has thick literature.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just interested in expanding your vocabulary, expanding, your attention span for when it
Yeah.
comes to like giving yourself space to read, challenge yourself to the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um that's a really a good one because that's what I've been reading over.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think
And
that's all
I
I
was
have.
okay.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, we want you to put us on for this episode in particular. We want to know from you guys what works have been resonating with you lately. Let
Hmm.
us know. Let us know in the comments. If it's art that also entertains us, let us know what that is. If it's just for entertainment, let us know that. And if you don't feel like it's entertaining but it's still art, then tell us that too. We want to know. Put us on. We love art. We love all kinds of art, books, movies, television
Hmm.
shows, dancers,
Hmm.
dance works of art,
Please.
fashion. Put us onto some people. Let us know.
Hmm.
And yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yep. So you know who else we love? We love our loved ones, and we want you to be heard on the Yellow Couch. So don't hesitate to send your own yappings via email to yellowcouchlounge@gmail.com. We want to share the conversation with you.
And like our video for your algorithm, invite your friends by sharing, and add us to your contacts by subscribing. Peace.
Peace.